Happy Fez Friday, everyone. It is Friday, August 23rd. My name is Jason, the Fezmonger, and this is the return of the State of the Studio. We are back in the studio after Silicon Valley Comic-Con last week, which is a whole story unto itself. And I'll probably sum it up. I'll do a podcast in the future once I start launching those and talk about the year in review and kind of go into details on what is going on with some of these smaller Comic-Cons. But long story short, we'll be talking about this show next year. So we're back in the studio. It's been a little slow on the recovery, mostly because we didn't take a break from Gen Con. We kind of went straight back into work and then headed up to San Jose. So I'm really feeling it this week. It's been a few days of only being able to get through like half a day of sewing before I start fading out. So I'm still in kind of a recovery stasis here, getting a little bit done every day and ramping back up into full production. We are gearing everything back up. We had turned off all the back orders on the website. We had postponed some private stuff so we could get on the road and get back. So now that we're back, we kind of have to shift those gears back in, get the embroidery machines up and running, get Fez's back into production, get preparing for our next two shows. We have Son of Monsterpalooza in just under 3 weeks. And then we have Gaslight Expo that's under 5 weeks away. So a little bit of breathing time. It's a little bit intimidating right now because it feels like it's a fast turnaround, but it's more than we're used to. So once we get the momentum, probably mid next week, we will find that we're tearing through all the stuff we have to get done, and then we can get back to focusing on the stuff that we want to get done. So kind of in that flux position where I'm nervous about all the work I have to do, and yet we do have time that I can take some breaks and get some rest and exercise and recover and all the stuff we've been neglecting by being on the road for 3 of the last 5 weeks. So we're back. We're getting focused back into stuff. And you may have noticed on the announcement yesterday, I have no idea, that we are launching the new 86 member badge. So that is up and on the website for 1 week only. So you have until next Wednesday to get those ordered. As well as the member badge, I'm putting up the third and final of my Tiki series for the summer up on the website. So you can get the Haku badge, the much requested Haku badge. Those are going into production right now. So if you get your orders in, we will be getting those out second half of next week. We'll try to get some out this weekend, depends on what's going on. I'm restocking the Haku Fezes currently. So Maya's been running Hakus on the embroidery machine. So it's a short step to do the badges. They're already geared up for it as we kind of focus going down the list of Fezes that need to be restocked before we get to Son of Monsterpalooza. Mostly the horror stuff first, sci-fi stuff also because of the Gaslight Expo. I want to get a couple new designs squeezed in there, some special stuff for either Son or for Gaslight. But I don't know what I'm going to be doing yet. We have a big private order that I have to address, get the design work done before the end of the month so that they're ready to roll with that in September, October area. So that's where we're at. There has been some talk about maybe doing a panel or a symposium at Gaslight. They've asked if we had anything that we wanted to share. And I have a couple of project ideas that I'm working on, but I have to figure out how much can we do conceivably, in a meeting room with a group of people, how much hands-on versus how much just lecturing would it be? So I have two lead projects that I really want to do, but I just have to figure out how much can we get by. I don't want to get into painting or chemicals, but one of the projects that would be really fun to do would involve all of that stuff. So it may become a series of videos that I produce for you guys. And then that will help me prep in the future down the line of maybe doing classes in it. So that's kind of where I'm at creatively. We've got, like I said, I have some private design work to do. I have a bunch of like half-finished designs that got cut before we rolled out to Gen Con. The Rakshasa Fezes. Oh, the Rakshasa Fezes are piled up behind me here. So if anybody ordered those, they're right there in that pile. They got finished yesterday. So they're going to get parsed out. Get their matching badges and get shipped out to you. Probably start shipping on Monday because it's Friday and I was convinced that it was still Thursday. So I'm a day or two behind reality at this point. So those are going out. That kind of ate up a lot of time. I had a bunch of concepts that I've been working on. The Ouroboros, a couple horror designs. I have some steampunk concepts that I've sketched out. So it's just a matter of figuring out which ones I have time for and have space for in the booth. So realistically, probably one horror and one science fiction or steampunk design that I'll be able to get in this month. But I do want to get more of that stuff going on. We have the lava skulls, which I think it's over at my other table. The little red and copper tassel cap experiment that I did and I posted about. A few of you requested that I make those available. Those are also available hidden on the Patreon section. Oh, here we go. Maya conveniently brings it over. So the little red and copper skull, it's kind of hard to see in this lighting, but you can see underneath he's red. So this was a little interesting experiment. I dyed these myself, and that actually worked out really, really well. So I plan to go out and pick out some more colors of dye and do some more playing around with these before I actually start ordering in. I can see a couple color variants of the tiki possibly being added to the mix. I currently only have white skulls to play with, so I think in my next 3D print order, I'm going to put in for some undyed, just white tikis to play with as well. So that's kind of where we're at. Booth style stuff. I don't know if I'm going to have much time to do anything exciting with the booth. The next two shows are kind of smaller footprints, so it's the small booth, similar to the layout that I brought up to Silicon Valley. So not a big change there. Next year, though, things are going to get weird. I posted about it this morning, but we just saw our May schedule for next year. We've confirmed one of the 3 shows, but basically the story is Monsterpalooza decided to move from April to May. We were okay with that. We had killed most of our May shows, so we figured we had plenty of space for it. Tiki Caliente is typically in May, so we were hoping that we still have spaces that we'd be able to make that show. But Rory tends to send out those days fairly late in the year, if not in the beginning of the of 2020. So we were kind of on hold there. And then there's a gaming convention in Burlingame up in Northern California that is a tabletop gaming. And one of the guys from that show also works at Gen Con. And when he was at the booth, he mentioned that he'd love to have us come up for that. And that's called KublaCon. It's a gaming convention a couple of my friends go to every year to game. So I kind of would like to do it anyway. And we got the dates for that as well. And that was all fine until Rory announced that Tiki Caliente is now going to land in the week between Monsterpalooza and KublaCon. So we're already looking at a month with 3 shows. At least they're all in California. They're all driving shows, but they're 3 different themes and 3 different booth layouts, which is a little intimidating. Monsterpalooza, we're going to have, we're in our very shallow but wider booth than we had before. Tiki Caliente, we are in the Easy Up outdoors in our big Easy Up for an outdoor space. And then KublaCon, we have no idea, but most likely a small 10 by 10 or smaller booth. So it's going to be a little intimidating. I'm trying to put that out of my head at this point because we have a long way to go before we get to the 2020 season. But currently we're looking at 1 show in March, no shows in April, and 3 shows back to back to back in May, taking June off again. And then we're still waiting to find out if TikiCon lands on the dates they had teased. It's when we're on the road to Gen Con, so that means we wouldn't be able to do TikiCon next year. Or we could be looking at doing TikiCon and then immediately driving towards Indianapolis. So we're still waiting to see what happens with that show. And then God knows what happens with the August, September rollout next year. But anyway, that's where we're at. We're already stressing about shows in the coming year, but at least we'll make it through. We do have the one-day pop-up Tiki event in December. That's going to be, I believe, in Santa Ana at Heritage Park. That's where the last one and the next one, which happens at the end of the month, next month, I should say. While we're at Gaslight, they're doing Tiki Land trading is going to be in Santa Ana. So I'm assuming that the December one will be in Santa Ana as well. And that'd be nice to have a local show that we can kind of depend on. That happens 4 or 5 times a year. So we'll see how that fits into that, puzzle of a schedule that we have. Let's see, anything else going on? That's pretty much it. There's a lot of restocked a bunch of the skull caps. So those are going to slowly get posted to the website because we didn't really have time to count those out. opened up all the back orders for everything that's going to be in production. So if there is a style and a size that you've been looking for, especially for the guys that are like larger than or smaller than our normal run. So if you're outside of the medium through 3X, now is a great time to look at those, because we'll be hand cutting up to 7Xs while we have time. And a bunch of designs are going to be retired this year. Some of the ones I'm looking at retiring are the Mystic Eyes, both the Chapeau and the Fez. We're retiring this, sixth version of Cthulhu is finally going to get retired. So there may be Fez of the Weeks or variations pop up of those designs, but I think it's time for them to retire and be replaced by something new and different. So I will be working on new stuff in the coming months. And of course, we have the holiday designs coming up very quickly. So that's kind of where we are. Ruth is up in San Francisco area with her mother. She's going to go see Hamilton this weekend. So she is not with us this weekend. She popped in Monday and Tuesday to work, mostly rest, but also to work. We all needed some rest on Monday. And then she'll be back again this coming Monday and Tuesday to work. So you won't see her on camera for a couple of weeks. I'm as disappointed about that as you are. So that is where we are. I can't think of anything else to cover. I can do this really quick by myself because there's no conversation except for what happens inside my head. Yeah. So, the usual. I just have to get past these next couple of weeks, get through the September shows, and then I can start focusing on more stuff, special stuff and more creative stuff for the Patreon. Oh, one thing I can mention, while we were up in San Jose, our good friend Chris, Fezzeretti member, I was talking about what do we do for the next patron member badge for the numbers, and he suggested the excellent idea of 11D1. So the next Patreon badge will be 11D1. So we're 25 people away from hitting that. 30 people away from hitting. My math is really bad. 25 people away from hitting that. So go ahead and spread the word. I will be posting stuff out. The newsletter will finally go out to tell people that a bunch of the designs that you guys have had access to for weeks, like the Interocitor, will finally be available to the public. I'm kind of keeping the Tesla Fez under wraps, I think, just to make sure I'm prepared for the next show, and then I can leak that one out to the general public. I'm just not ready for a big rush of those because they can only be run on a 10-color machine. So it's kind of a one machine is set up to run those, and I don't want a big glut of those getting in the way of restocking. So first, restock what's going on. Haku's and Hari Tikis are on the board, ready to go. I do have to print a bunch of tips for those, so that's a couple-day process of getting those running. The purple bats are about to go on the machines next, along with the badges that you guys are ordering. And Cthulhu will be restocked on Kronos in the back of the room. So a lot of the machines already have plans going forward, and I will be keeping you guys posted on all of that stuff as we go forward. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for all of your support on the Patreon, and definitely have a great weekend out there. I hope you all have a fantastic time. Keep your tassels clean, and I will see you next week.